Page 585. We have to do Pesach talk. You have a notebook. 585, Shoshana. You can read Hebrew, Shoshana?
Yes, I can read Hebrew.
Good. Page 585. Pasuk Aleph. Pasuk Aleph. You with me, Shoshana? 585. Shamor es Chodesh Aviv.
Yes.
Observe the month of Aviv. Aviv, where's Ora?
She's coming tomorrow.
Aviv.
My wife comes tomorrow.
Why is Nisan called Aviv? That's his son's name. Why is Nisan called Aviv?
Springtime. Because it means spring.
But what is the word Aviv? Literally, the word Aviv is an acronym, Shoshana. You know what an acronym is?
Yes.
CIA, FBI,
Yes.
NYPD, KGB.
Yes, yes.
Aviv is an acronym. Av Yud Bet. It is the father of the 12 months. Father meaning what?
Just like
Chief.
Chief for the
Chief.
Just like we just did.
Exactly. Shamor's Chodesh Aviv. Observe the month of Aviv. Nisan is called Aviv. It's an acronym of Av Yud Bet. It is the chief, the father of all the months. V'yosisa Pesach Lashem Elakecha, and you shall observe the Pesach. Pesach here means the Paschal Lamb, right? Hashem, you shall make the Pesach, the shawarma, the lamb chop. Ki b'chodesh Aviv, because in the month of Aviv, Hotziach Hashem Elakecha, did Hashem take you out Mitzrayim Laila? Did Hashem take you out of Egypt? When did God take us out of Egypt? At night. Is that true?
No.
Did God take us out at night?
12 o'clock.
Help! This part the movie did get right. This part the movie got right. We left at high noon. So Rashi's puzzled. It says here that God took us out at night, right? So look at Rashi, Pasuk Aleph. By the way, this is Seder night talk. You can't just read the Haggadah and go to sleep, Avram. No, you gotta, this is Seder night talk. See what's bothering Rashi? Here the Pasuk says that God took us out on Exodus night. What?
After 4 glasses of wine, I want to go to sleep.
So Rashi asked the question. Look at Rashi in the left column. You see that? Mitzrayim Laila. Anybody want to read?
Yeah.
Balo Bayom Yatsu. Hey, Rashi said, I saw the movie. We left in the daytime. Shenema, the Pasuk says, Mimochras HaPesach Yatsu B'nai Yisrael. They left on the following day after they slaughtered the Pesach. When did they slaughter the Pesach? On the 14th of Nisan on Chansos. That's when we slaughtered the Pesach. So it says the very next day, 24 hours later, which is what? 15th of Nisan in the high noon, Yatsu B'nai Yisrael. So how could the text say here, by Midbar tells us that we left at high noon, exactly 24 hours after we slaughtered the Pesach, Mimochas HaPesach Yotzu B'nai Yisrael, right, which was high noon. So how come it says here Laila? So what does Rashi answer? Lefisha B'Laila Nosalahem Paro V'Shus L'tzet.
Permission.
Paroi gave us rishus to leave at night. Shenema Yikla Moshel Aaron Laila. So, from Pharaoh's point of view, we should have left at night. But God said, no, you're not leaving at night. So the Egyptians say you snuck out under the cover of darkness. No, you're going to march out at high noon with your heads held high. So therefore it says Laila is when Paroi wanted us to leave. When he gave us permission to leave, but we actually didn't leave until the next day at high noon.
Right,
so there is no contradiction in the
nice
Sukkim. Right?
I have a question.
Right?
Nice terrace. It's to say there's no contradiction, but why did God choose to say, use the Laila, or even put Laila at all?
To tell us that Pharaoh was so eager to get rid of us at night. But we wouldn't leave at night, so they shouldn't say we snuck out under the cover of darkness.
I hear you.
I
want to go further.
All right, but this is...
I want to go further.
All right.
That he must have wanted to teach us something more by using it. You didn't need to use the word at all. Could have left it off. What is it telling us? Anoy Elohim El Mitzrayim. Why does he have to...
Well, let's go back to Exodus 12, verse 31, I hear.
Why put it in at all?
So let's go back to Exodus 12, verse 31. Let's go to Exodus 12, verse 31. Exodus 12. Shoshana, this class you have to have nimble fingers. Exodus 12, verse 31.
Move back and forth.
Let's take a look at Exodus 12, verse 31. Page 198. Page 198. Shoshana, pages are here. You see my finger? Pages are there. 198. Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayikral Moshe la'Aaron Laila. See, this is what the Rashi is referring to. 198. Vayikral Moshe la'Aaron Laila. Pharaoh called to Moshe Aaron. When did he call? Laila. Vayoyme kumu. Get up, get out from this my people. Gamatan gamanei sol kuiv des Hashem kidaberchem. So that's what the pasuk refers to. That technically we were free at night.
Yeah, technically. Yeah.
But Hashem said, no, you're not leaving until what? The next day. Okay? So this is what Rashi is referring to. Okay?
I'm surprised at the
Okay? All right? Mm-hmm.
It's almost like,
Yeah.
we know he had to make it all fit together to have the right letters. Almost like a plug, because he needs the word. There's no reason to say, nighttime because.
So what's the message? The message: we got our freedom at nighttime. We got our freedom at nighttime, but Hashem delayed it until what?
Next day.
Until the next day. Okay, that God calls the shots. Even though we were ready to leave at night, God said, "You're ready. I ain't ready. We will sell no wine before it's time."
Orson Welles.
Okay, there's a message here. There's a message here. The message is well taken. If you take a look, the message is well taken. Take a look at page 195. How did they have to eat the Korban Pesach in Cairo? Page 195, Pasuk Yud Aleph. V'kacha toichli oto. Like this you shall eat the shawarma. Mosnechem chagurim. Your belts buckle up for safety. Na'alechem baraglechem, your shoes on your feet. Umaklechem biyatchem, and your walking staff and your knapsack over your shoulders.
You're ready to go.
V'achaltem oisa b'chipazon, you should eat it quickly. Pesach l'Hashem, Pesach l'Hashem. Avram, why do they have to eat it quickly for? They're not leaving until when? The next day at high noon. So why give him a heartburn? If you eat shawarma quickly, you might get heartburn.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Tums are not Pesachlik. Tums.
How do you know?
Maybe they are, but I don't know if they had Tums in those days. So what's the point here, Avram? What's the point? Why did never again did they have to eat? Never again did they have to eat the Korban Pesach quickly. It was only Pesach Mitzrayim. Only Pesach Mitzrayim did they have to eat. Thank you. Only Pesach Mitzrayim did they have to eat. What page is that?
195 is the
Only Pesach Mitzrayim did they have to eat very quickly. So Manishtana Pesach Mitzrayim, you can ask that. I have another Manishtana. Oh, I like it. Can you close it down? The door. You can't ask the same questions every year. Manishtana Pesach Mitzrayim. There's no Moshe?
No.
What? Here.
Manishtana Pesach Mitzrayim. We call up Pesachim. All the other Korban Pesach you can eat laid back. Kick off your shoes and relax. Why Pesach Mitzrayim did they have to eat quickly when they're not leaving until the next day anyway? This is a kasha for Seder night. You can't ask the same 4 questions every year. Man ishtana Pesach Mitzrayim. We call up Pesachim where Pesach Mitzrayim had to be eaten quickly when we're not leaving till the next day anyway. So what's the answer? The answer is to teach discipline. There's many answers. God decides when it's time. Not you. He decides. Patience, savlanut. So why eat quickly? So the Zohar says that the Jews were in memtesh sharei tumah. They were being eaten up by the tumah, and they needed a quick antibiotic. You know what an antibiotic is? Antibiotic to fight the poison. What's the antibiotic for what? Mem Teshare Tuma? Korban Pesach. So you had to eat it quickly before the poison spreads beyond what? Beyond the cure. Right? The Korban Pesach was the spiritual antidote for the Mem Teshare Tuma, and if they would take the time chewing it, there'd be no one left to save. They'd be gone. They'd be gone. Once you sink into Nun Share Tuma, there's nobody left to save. So therefore, the Korban Pesach was a spiritual antidote for the Tuma, and therefore it had to be eaten what? Quickly.
Who said this?
The Zohar Kodesh. But never again did the Jews have to eat the shawarma quickly. Right? Because Baruch Hashem, since then, would not be the Mem Teshare Tuma, Baruch Hashem. So, interesting. Okay? Yeah.
So the next time I eat shawarma,
And it take no, right? Yeah. Interesting, right? So here there seems to be a contradiction in the psukim. If you take a look at page 195, Pasuk Yud Bet, V'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh. God says that I will pass the land of Egypt this night. The Akesi kol b'chor be'eretz Mitzrayim, and I will smite all the firstborn of Egypt. Ma'adam vad behema b'chol behem Mitzrayim es hashvatim ani Hashem. Ani Hashem. Look at Rashi on 196, the right column, Gershom. Es hashvatim ani Hashem. I think it's 5 lines down from the top. Es hashvatim ani Hashem. We quote this Rashi in the Megillah, not in the Megillah, in the Haggadah. Ani ba'atzmi Avram. Ani Hashem. Ani ba'atzmi odei shliach. I myself will smite the firstborn. Normally God works through agents. What are the agents called? Malachim. But here God says, Ani ba'atzmi, v'lo yedei shliach. I myself will what?
Do it, action.
Will strike the firstborn, not through what? An agent.
They just said that Boaz had to work himself.
Right.
Does God have to work himself?
God
too?
has to work himself. What?
What's going on here?
Mm.
He's got to work himself like Boaz had to work himself?
Right.
But he's worked. To teach us a mitzvah to work in the land of Israel?
The Talmud in
The guy that had to work in the land of Israel, he killed the people in the land of Israel? It was Egypt.
The Talmud in Tractate Tainus Daf Bet says that God chooses to run the world through agents. He doesn't have to, but he chooses to. What are the agents called? Malachim. 3 tasks he chooses to do himself. 3 tasks. He doesn't point at it. 3 keys or 3 tasks. The key to childbirth, the key to rain, and the key to Tchiat HaMeitim. That he does himself. But the rest he chooses to do through Malachim, agents. So here God says, another exception which I want to do myself, Ani ba'atzmi v'lo yedei shliach, then I will give the angel of death the night off. He deserves a night off after 6,000 years, don't you think? Ani ba'atzmi v'lo yedei shliach. I myself, not through the shliach, right? Not through the angel of death, right? That's what it says here. And we quote this in the Haggadah. But there's a problem, because if you take a look on page 197, Gershom, if you read Pasuk Chav Bet, take a look there. Yeah. Or better, look at Pasuk Chav Gimel. 198 Chav Gimel. Make the question even stronger. Chav Gimel, 198. Over Hashem lingof et Mitzrayim. God will what? Pass over to smite the Egyptians, or Ros Hadam, and God will see the blood, Al Mashkov, Al Shtei Mezuzot, Upasach Hashem Al Petach, and God will pass over. Upasach Hashem Al Petach, Alfie, God will pass over the door. V'yiten HaMashkes Lovei El B'teichem Lingov. God will not allow the destroyer. God will not allow the destroyer. Alfie, you have a good book?
Not yet.
Yeah.
All right, get on. As the good book says, God will not allow the destroyer to what? Enter your home to plague you. Gershon, what's difficult? God said on page 196, God says what?
I will do it.
Ani ba'atzmi. I'm giving the Malach HaMavas the night off, Avraham.
Yeah.
Right? You hear the kasha?
Yeah, then he says, I will not allow
Say the night talk.
He's the destroyer, right?
What?
Hashem's the destroyer, right?
Barbanel gives that. Very good. 1 down, 69 to go. Rav Avraham was mechaven to the Barbanel. He says that God is speaking about himself. On Pesach night, God was the destroyer. So he's speaking about himself, Kavayochel. I won't allow yours truly, who is the destroyer, to enter what?
The houses.
Your houses.
It's like saying, I will not allow myself.
Right. Because God is taking the role of the destroyer tonight.
Malchamovas.
He's taking the Malach HaMovas' job. He deserves a night off after 6,000 years. So this is, Avram Burke was mechaven to the great Abarbanel, the finance minister of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, right? And God is speaking of himself. I won't allow the destroyer, meaning Kaviochel himself, to plague you. But the Vilna Gaon gives another interpretation, and there's probably 68 others, to reconcile the contradiction when it says God, I myself will smite them and I won't allow the destroyer. So the Vilna Gaon says that yes, God slew the firstborn Egyptians himself. Right? When God says here, 198, Chav Gimel, I won't allow the destroyer to enter your home, God is speaking about, there were many Jews that night who were 103 years old in the nursing home and their time was up. Their time was up. I won't allow the destroyer to enter your homes. Even those Jews who lived a rightful life, who were supposed to die that night, they didn't die. I won't allow the destroyer into your homes, because how does a person die? The Malach HaMoves, dressed up like cancer, senility, whatever disease it is. It's the Malach HaMoves acting out through these, it's all the Malach HaMoves wearing the cancer disguise, or wearing the disguise of a heart attack, or what, stroke.
He must be wearing some kind of much more pretty disguise, otherwise...
Whatever disguise, but God won't allow the mashchish, meaning that even those Jews who were destined to die that night, they lived a ripe old age, God won't allow the destroyer to take them. They get an extension on the contract. Isn't beautiful, Vilna Gaon? You write it down, please, otherwise there's a stira. You wrote it down. So that means he got the night off totally. Even those customers who were supposed to die naturally, he also got the night off. Okay?
So it's a contradiction to Exodus 12.
And page 196, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Where it says what? Pasuk Yud Gimel. Es Shvatim Ani Hashem. You see that? Pasuk Yud Gimel. And page 196. Es Shvatim Ani Hashem. Right? Actually, Pasuk Yud Bet. It begins on 195 Yud Bet. Es Shvatim Ani Hashem. Hashem, Rashi on 196 on the right column. I have the same book as you, yeah? So not contradiction, because when Yitan HaMashch is referring, like Avram Berkowitz said, and the Vilna Gaon, right? It's referring to those people supposed to die anyway. After a ripe old age, God wouldn't allow the Mashchas to take them either. Right? So the Jews...
How does that Barbanel answer, though?
No, he answered like Avram Berkowitz said. The Mashchas is speaking about God himself. Because God himself acted the mashchis, and he wouldn't come into your house to plague you. I mean, it's probably the same in different words. He wouldn't allow the mashchis that God didn't take anybody that night. Even those customers who were supposed to die naturally. Okay, so...
He took the other 80%.
What? No, they died during what?
During the plague of darkness.
Now,
Darkness.
Nady opened up a Pandora's box. I'm glad you did, Nady. Let's take a look at...
That's why I came today.
You raised a very interesting question. Let's take a look at the... look over here. 1 second. Wie Haltman. Yeah. The plague of Choshech. The plague of Choshech. Let's go back here. The plague of Choshech. No, let's go back here. Yeah. We'll see Rashi says it. Page 192. Nady raised a beautiful question, which was raised by Rav Soloveitchik. Make my day. He raised Rav Soloveitchik's question. You hear that? Page 192. Let's take a look at Pasuk Chavbet. The top of 192, Chavbet. You have it, Gershom. Vayet Moshe es yodei al shemayim v'choshech afela b'cholet mitzrayim v'shlosh yomim. Thick darkness 3 days over the land of Egypt, right? So why 3 days?
12.
192, Pasuk Chavbet.
10, 12.
Why was there darkness for 3 days? Look at Rashi. Let's take a look. Let's take a Rashi over here.
No, 22.
Rashi. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what Rashi says. Rashi right column. He choshech afela shloshes yomim. Right? Choshech shel afel. Achiv oisher shloshes yomim. So the first, right? Va'ot shloshes yom acherim. Rashi said 3 plus 3. Choshech mechupal al zeh. After the first 3 days of darkness, there was even stronger darkness, another 3 days, where the darkness was actually became, you could actually feel it. Shloikamu ish mitachtav. Yoshev en yochel lamod. You have it, Gershom? A guy who was sitting was not able to what?
Stand up.
Va'omed en yochel leishev. V'lama hevi aleim choshech. Why did God bring darkness on them, Alfie? You looking in, Alfie? No? Shohay b'Yisrael ba'oisay dar v'shayim. You did, Nady? The bottom of Rashi. Why did God bring darkness on the Mitzrayim? Shohay b'Yisrael ba'oisay hadar v'shayim. There were Jews in those days who were wicked, v'loy hoya rotzim lotzet, and they didn't want to what?
To leave.
What does Rashi continue, Gershom? Umetu b'shloishes yemei afela. They died during the 3 days of darkness. Why did they die during the 3 days of darkness? Kidei what? So
the Egyptians should say that they were taken just like us.
So therefore there's the Watergate, the cover-up. So the Mitzvim shouldn't gloat and say what?
They also have been punished.
You understand this, Rashi?
Yeah.
Rav Soloveitchik says he don't understand this Rashi at all. What are they, stupid? When the 3 days of darkness are up, Alfie, they don't see that the morgue is overflowing with corpses.
Cemetery.
The Mitzvim shouldn't say that they're also punished like us. So under the cover of darkness, God took them out. So the Mitzvim shouldn't gloat, right? But when the darkness lifts, Shana, what are they going to see?
Cemeteries.
Hey, the cemeteries are overflowing with dead people.
Yeah.
I mean,
It must be millions. Huh?
So, you hear the Rav Soloveitchik's kasha? Huh? Good to kasha? Who are you fooling? Says Rav Soloveitchik. Rashi's quoting an Agadata Gemara. Remember the Ramban told us, the great Nachmanides, when his debate with Pablo Cristiani in 1263, that the Talmud consists of 2 sections, Agadah and Halacha. Only the halachic part of the Talmud must be taken literally. The Agadah part of the Talmud is not to be taken literally. It's an allegory. Based on this Nachmanides, he had very wide shoulders to say that. Nachmanides said it, and after him the Marsha said it, and after him the Vilna Gaon said it, but the Ramban was the first during his debate with Pablo Cristiani. He kept hitting him with, he was a Geshmada Yid, he knew his Talmud, with all of Agadah the Gemaras that the Mashiach came already. You say that J.C. Penney. So he said, don't hit me with Agadah the Gemaras, they're not to be taken literally. Halachic part is taken literally. It's the Ramban, the great Nachmanides. You can buy a book, it's been translated in English. It's called The Disputation at Barcelona. You can actually buy it in English. So based on this great Ramban, says Rav Soloveitchik, when the Medrash says that they died, it doesn't mean they died physically. Where are you going to put all the dead bodies? The Mitzvah will know. It means that when the darkness came, that was a sign that these Jews were swallowed up by a spiritual darkness. They crossed a red line where they died spiritually. They didn't die physically. They remained behind in Egypt. They identified totally with the Mitzrayim. Peace Now, J Street. You have that phenomenon today. They identified totally with the enemy.
So therefore,
So when it says that they died in the days of darkness, it doesn't mean that they died physically. They were engulfed in a spiritual darkness. To such a degree, Alfie, that they became J Street. They became Peace Now.
They didn't.
Totally identifying with the enemy. That phenomenon is alive and well today. Isn't that powerful, Rav Soloveitchik? I'm glad I came today. Who are you fooling? The Mitzvah not going to see the morgues overflowing with dead bodies? Alpha, you need a Rav Soloveitchik. That's all. You hear what's going on here? The darkness symbolized the spiritual darkness that Nebuchadnezzar plunged the Yidden were engulfed, where they totally crossed over to the other side, became spiritually dead, as Nebuch we see today with the J Street.
so it says when they died spiritually, it's like they just went with one more step over the cliff.
They over the spiritual precipice and became J Street 1.
So they didn't come out of Egypt when...
That's right, they remained behind. Today the Messiah comes. J Street wants the Messiah. Peace Now wants the Messiah. They'll join the PLO. This phenomenon, unfortunately, is alive and well today. Unfortunately. There's something about... What?
So that's from Shemos.
That's from Rashi, page 192, Pasuk Chav Bet.
Wow.
They died during the days of darkness. They died. To die spiritually is worse than to die physically, Shoshana. The darkness represented their spiritual abyss that they fell into. As we see today, Nebuch, you just read the Haaretz newspaper, which is unbelievable. Jews writing, listen, Haaretz newspaper, in the editorial, you can't believe this phenomenon is alive and well. The IDF killed 3 terrorists a week ago or less. 3 terrorists were trying to put a bomb by the fence. They shot them, 3 terrorists. Right? Haaretz wrote, war crimes! This is what they wrote. This is Haaretz, right? War crimes. The IDF should be prosecuted for war crimes. They're going to The Hague, Haaretz. War crimes. You're shooting innocent Palestinians. So they wanted to put a bomb by the fence. That's a reason to shoot them. The headline I should have cut it out. I almost threw up. IDF guilty of war crimes. You see, you have it, Alfie. 3,000 years ago, you had that also. Aren't they in spiritual darkness? Aren't they spiritually dead? The Haaretz in that mindset. That's what Rashi means.
Maybe he should buy Haaretz. Edelson was trying to buy it so that he could... Right? Right, they're trying to sell it now, Haaretz. They should sell to somebody who change it for us.
Unfortunately, yeah. Anyway,
Nothing to say.
nothing to say, Brian, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nothing to say. But you can speak with these people.
Now let me tell you, I don't know if you'll come. Should I tell you? Okay.
Really?
Anyway, interesting on page 193. Let's go from 193. Yeah.
Careful, the glass is broken.
193 Pasuk Zayin. Now the Torah, Gershom, is not a history book. The Torah is God's authorized manual for living in the year 2014. Right, Alfie, you agree? Now look at page 193 Pasuk Zayin. What is your name, sir?
Josh.
Josh, can you read Hebrew?
Yeah.
You want to read 193 Pasuk Zayin? Chol b'nei Yisrael.
193.
And when the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, no dog barked against them. Well, thank you very much. Josh, what it says when the Jews left Egypt, that's what it says, right? Vayechlatz kelem, no dog barked or what? Showed its teeth, right? That's what the Torah is telling me, right? So obviously, what's the? Why is the Torah telling me that? Why is the Torah telling me that, Reb Gershom? Torah is not a history book. Torah is God's authorized manual for living in the year 2014. So to answer this question, Gershom, we're going to what? Of course. To answer this question, Alfie, we're going to ask another question. Let us flash forward. Josh, flash forward here to Pashas Mishpatim.
So the question is what?
Well, you tell me the question. Josh, can you tell him the question?
The dog's not barking.
What's dog's not barking got to do with anything? Right?
Exactly.
No, the point is that normally, to the Gemara Bava Kama fills in the background, when there's a plague raging in a city, the dogs go wild. They go wild. You know, you see the movies, right? They sense something that they knew the tsunami before.
Yeah,
they go
before that
crazy.
tsunami, they said
The animals went wild, barking. So normally the dogs will be howling,
Sound effects.
right, when there's a plague raging, and the Yidden would be frightened, right? Yidden would be frightened. So God made a nest that what? That they didn't howl and not to frighten the Yidden. So God was so concerned not to frighten the Yidden. A pregnant lady could miscarry. So, right? So this was what? One of the miracles. Well, you can say that God was concerned even with our comfort, not just taking us out, but none of us should be frightened by the barking dogs. Look how God is concerned, not just with the big ticket items. Every little point. That's one answer. They teach us that God is concerned even what we think is mundane. Even whether a dog barks or not, whether you're having a bad hair day or not, it's up to him. Nothing happens by coinky dinky. That's the message for the year 2015. Doesn't God have better things to do than worry about barking dogs? He's busy with the cosmos. Judaism teaches, Shoshana. Yes, whether a Jew will be frightened or not frightened is not a coinky dinky. He decides when a Jew is frightened or not, even a barking dog. That's what it means to be Jewish. I had to learn that on Exodus night. 1 minute, what? That's how God's a hands-on manager. Not just the big ticket items, but even whether a dog barks or not, whether you have a bad hair day or a good hair day. Huh?
Parking spot.
Right? You get a parking spot or you don't get a parking spot. Oh, I just got this guy, Alfie, was circling the block for 3 hours. He couldn't find his parking spot. 3 hours circling the block, and he had to get into a shopping center. 3 hours, he couldn't. He says, oh, Hashem, please. I'll do anything you want. I'm begging you. I'm praying to you. Give me a parking spot. As soon as he finishes davening, a guy pulls out. He says, oh, Hashem, forget about it. Forget about it, Hashem. I found one already. Thanks, but no thanks. That's the barking dogs. For the year 2014, Alfie, important, right? Of course, there's another message. Right? For the other message, we got to go to page...
What was this about the barking dog?
what page was that?
That was 193.
193.
Zion.
Yes, I found it. Thank you.
That was taught to the Yidden when we became a people. When did we become a people? Exodus 9. Maral says we became a people Exodus 9. We had to learn that lesson. Whether a dog frightens you or not, whether a neighbor says a nasty word to you or not, it's all him. Person has free will. He doesn't have to deliver the message. Someone else will deliver the message. Okay? Everything is controlled by a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Right? Even a barking dog. Well, just a bit. I took the wrong turn. I would have gone this way. The dog wouldn't have barked at me. But of course, there's another lesson. And the other lesson is found, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, in Pashas Mishpatim. Look at Pashas Mishpatim, page 242, Pasuk Lamed. Page 242, Pasuk Lamed. Any volunteers, Josh? Want to volunteer? 242, Pasuk Lamed.
The orange mot.
22:30.
V'anshe kodesh tiyunli. You shall be a holy people to me. Ubasa basada treifa loy tachelu. How you become a holy people? One way is by not eating a non-kosher meat. What should you do with your non-kosher meat? La kelef tashlichen oto.
Yeah.
Throw it to the dogs. Don't eat treifa meat. What should you do with it? Torah says, throw it to the dogs.
That was a star because they kept.
Oh, so Rashi is a very strange Rashi. Look at Rashi 242, left column on top. Why should we throw it to the dogs? Rashi's 242. You have it?
Yeah.
Let's put this inside. 3 lines from the top on the left column. V'limdecho hakatuv. You see the middle of the V'limdecho hakatuv? Alfie. The Torah is teaching she'ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekapei aschal karberia. God doesn't hold back the reward for any creature. Shenema achol b'nei Yisrael lo yechpatz kelev l'shaynai. Since 3,325 years ago, the dogs didn't frighten us. When what? We left Egypt. Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So God says now in the year 2014, Tunu lo yischarai. Tunu lo yischarai. Give him reward. That means Fido, that you're giving the steak to Fido, the tray for meat. To Fido, he's going to know that his great-great-grandpa in Egypt didn't frighten me. Let's get real here, Josh. What does Rashi mean?
So what happens if you...
1 minute. What's Rashi saying, right? We should give the dogs meat today, Torah's forever, right? The year 2014, since Fido's great-great-great-grandpa, Spot, what's his name? Fido, Spot.
Yeah.
What?
Great grandpa Spot.
Spot.
Right.
See Spot
He's
run.
Fido, good Spot.
Right? So Fido today will know that his great-great-great-grandpappy in Mitzrayim didn't frighten me, therefore this Jew is giving me his meat. What's the point?
Hashem is rewarding.
Everything is rewarded.
Everything is rewarded. Even the bargaining. The not
But what is
bargaining
the dog today? He knows that grandpa didn't frighten me in Egypt. He cares less. He knows the difference, Alfie. I'm expressing
No.
my gratitude. The dog knows any difference.
But maybe you help an old woman. And
Expressing
you see it's nothing.
gratitude is for me. It's not for the dog. People forget that. For me to become a better person, I have to inculcate into me the need of gratitude. The dog doesn't know no difference. It's not for the dog. To develop my spiritual character, to become mushlam, for me, not for the dog. I have to express Hakara Satayv, which is the Ikra of Yahadut. And if I don't do that, there's something very wrong with me. The IDF defends us 24/7. The least we can do is make a mishaberach for them. Not to express Hakara Satayv to the IDF. Could we study Torah for 5 minutes if it wasn't for the IDF? And not to make a mishaberach? Where's that Hakara Satayv? Some people can't see the forest for the trees. Of course, the Torah is for me. In order to develop my spiritual character, to become a completely spiritual, perfected person, I have to express the Torah for me. Not the dog. He doesn't know no difference. Me. My spiritual welfare needs it. And if I don't express a Torah, there's something very wrong with that person. Even though he wears a shtreimel, there's something very wrong with him. Nebuch. Okay, so this is what the Torah is telling me over here. The whole Jewish religion stands on Hakara Satov. Again,
Who said that? Rabbeinu Bach said that, right?
Ben Abachia and the Sefer HaChinuch, they both say that the entire Jewish religion stands on the pillar of Hakara Tatov. You have to know this. Expressing gratitude and appreciation to someone that does good to you, that's the essence of Judaism. Who does more good to us than the IDF? Could we live here 5 minutes if they didn't defend us? from our implacable peace partners? Huh? Where's the appreciation and gratitude for that? Which is the essence of Judaism. Hello? Okay, any questions, comments?
Yeah, comment. On Monday
Comment.
evening, Rav Jacob Nane mentioned that the soldiers are on heavy missions in the Oz at the moment. For 1 week, they didn't even have time to change the clothing and to take a shower.
We appreciate that. The risk that they take. A couple of weeks ago, Alfie, Friday night, there was a ship loaded with rockets and missiles from our peace partners, Iran, heading to Gaza to shoot on Israeli cities. Friday night, in middle of L'Chodoidi, these holy soldiers were middle of davening, singing L'Chodoidi, Kabbalah Shabbos, with such fervor. They get an SOS. Intercept the ship. In middle of the davening. Here, wearing the talesim, the shliach tzibur, dancing L'Chodoidi. Time out, they took their weapons, risked their lives to capture the ship. They wouldn't have caught it, the missiles would have been... Where's our Korsatoy for these holy soldiers? And this is just one example out of dozens every day that the paper doesn't even tell you about.
No, but when they kill
They don't
three
even tell you
Palestinians,
about.
putting a bomb on the border...
Yeah.
And they
No, Aretz said that they're war crimes.
Yeah, war crime.
The idea...
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about dogs and how they can't differentiate between... Like,
Can they? I don't know. Can this dog know his grandpappy didn't frighten me 3,000 years ago?
but I mean, I think you're saying like differentiate between like kosher food and non-kosher food, right?
No.
So
No.
The Torah says meat that
You
is
walked in
not
the
kosher,
middle. You walked in the
you
middle.
can't eat it.
Uh-huh.
What should you do with it? Throw it in the garbage?
No, I see.
What should you do with it?
You said give it to the dog.
Why?
Because
Because he didn't bark. He didn't bark. Grandpa didn't bark. Great-great-grandpa didn't bark. So how's he going to know?
3,000 years before.
So you've come in the middle, you missed the whole...
We missed the point of you saying.
Oh, so it's like gratitude. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it. I get it now. I think.
Because a dog can't distinguish that, like, his...
You might be able to read the history book.
But
Can you?
what my question was is what would happen like if you fed a dog only kosher food and it didn't know that there was a benefit to that? Would
No, dog, you don't give kosher food to a dog. It's a good waste of meat.
Supposing
You give him food that you can't eat.
Supposing there's a dog in a king's palace,
Yeah.
and the king only feeds his dog kosher food.
Dog is not Jewish. So dog doesn't have to eat kosher, right? We're not worried about dogs. We're worried about human beings. We're worried about human beings.
Or not.
There's a story in the Gemara of someone who fed his donkey only kosher, right?
Pinchas ben Yair, no, not that he fed him. He only ate kosher. You'd be on Pinchas ben Yair's level, where the donkey knew not to eat untied food. Not that he...
The donkey was smart.
The
enough to
donkey.
know not to eat.
Remember Mr. Ed? Some donkeys are smarter than people, right? Huh?
Robert Sprecher.
Yeah.
There is an issue with pets on Passover, right? Isn't there? Like,
No, that's us. Not that the dog is Jewish.
That's what dog food
Chametz is asa b'hana'ah.
right.
Can't get any better.
See, you can give a dog pig, but you can't give him chametz, not because he's Jewish, because you can't benefit from chametz.
Otherwise, you have to feed
So
him
if you
something else.
give the dog chametz, you are benefiting. You're saving yourself a package of Alpo dog food. You're not allowed to benefit from chametz, not because the dog is Jewish. You can give him pig and shrimp.
On Passover,
You can't give him chametz because chametz is
pig,
also.
though. You can give him pig.
Of course, you can give him pig.
On Passover.
Why not? He's not Jewish. But you can't give him a cheeseburger anytime.
Rabbi
Because a cheeseburger is asa bahana. By giving him a cheeseburger,
so
you're
it's
benefiting.
benefits.
How are you benefiting? You're saving yourself a bag of Purino dog chow.
Right.
By giving him the burger cheese. It's asa bahana. Cheeseburgers like chametz is asa bahana. Nothing to do with the dog. It's I cannot benefit from cheeseburgers or chametz. Yes?
Rabbi Kessler's dog
Yeah.
loved green beans.
Green beans.
So the dog was Sephardi. He would eat green beans, which is kidney, but that's what he would eat on Pesach.
Why green beans? Why green beans?
Green beans are not kidneys. They're not
Why green
kidneys.
beans can't do it?
Beans?
Green beans are not.
Green
It
Green
was
beans.
some kind of peas or something.
Peas are
Maybe it was peas. It was something that was kidney-o.
Yeah,
And he would buy cans of kidney.
Even peas.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Some
Yeah.
kind of.
So it was an Ashkenazi.
like,
It was a Sephardi dog.
like the beans you have with hot dog beans. Those are,
Yeah, those are kidneys.
those are good.
Yeah, it was
The
kidney.
baked beans, those are kidneys,
Whatever
right?
it was, it was kidney-o. It
Yeah.
wasn't,
Right, the
Yeah.
kidneys, right.
maybe it was peas. I don't know.
Okay,
Whatever it was.
Thank God I'm Sephardi.
You can have hummus on your matzah. Hummus.
If you're Sephardi.
Right, if you're Sephardi, you can have hummus. But wasn't Moses Sephardi? What?
He had a Sfardi, right?
I don't think there were any Ashkenazim
Mostly was
back
smarty.
then.
What?
There were no Ashkenazim back then. That came a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting over here. Okay. Torah Achas. Nun Aleph. Okay. Yeah. Again, the idea that we said before, that God is not just in the big ticket items. Whether you're having a nice day or not also depends on Him. You're having a nice day today, right? Coincidence? The Exodus teaches, no, you have a nice day, He's giving you a nice day. Appreciate it. How do we know? Powerful message, Gersh. Look at page 201. Page 201, this is Seder Night Talk, of course. Page 201, Pasuk Gimel. Actually, Dalid. Hayam atam yotzim b'chodesh aviv. You have it, Shoshana? 201 Dalid. You with me? Today you leave in the month of Aviv. So what's bothering Rashi is Hayam od yod chodesh Aviv. Yeah, Aviv is Av Yud Bet. We said then, right? Today you're leaving the month of Aviv, right? So Rashi's wondering. I mean, I have a calendar. There's no extra words in the Torah. What is the Torah telling me? Today you're leaving on the month of Aviv. Check the calendar, right? I look out the window. Why are you telling me you're leaving Chodesh Aviv for? That's what's bothering Rashi. Look at this incredible Rashi. Dalid. You with me, Avram? Chodesh Aviv.
Yeah.
You want to read it? V'chi loy hoya yadin. Be'ezeh Chodesh Yatzu. Look out the window. Check your calendar. What's the Torah's point for the year 2015? Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the Torah of Yaakov. Elokach omalahem. This is what God is saying. Ru'u chesed shegemalchem. Shahoitzi eschem b'chodesh yukosher letzet. Look at the extra chesed God is doing for you. He took you out in the perfect month for marching weather. Lo chama, velo tzina, velo gshamim. The Jews would have been thankful to leave when? In February. Or December. Anytime, just get out of here. But God timed it to give them perfect weather, Alfie, to march in the desert. What's Rashi saying? God worries even about a nice day.
A good day or not.
Right?
Weather's not.
Whether you're having a good hair day or a bad hair day, a nice day or not, it's all controlled by Him. In that message we had to learn when we became a people, Shoshana. Many people think God is only in the big ticket, super duper, razzle dazzle, splitting of the Red Sea. He's too busy to concern whether I'm having a good day or a bad hair day. That's the wrong religion. Ubore choshech. Yotze ora bore choshech. Oisha shalom and bore ra. Bore ra. Yishayahu. We changed it. Amazing how we changed. Ashkenaz Agdola changed it. Be too upsetting to people, right? It's amazing.
What's that?
The pasuk that we have a sitter over here.
Is there over
You have a sitter? Anybody have a sitter?
What do you have?
I'll give you a sitter. It's a sitter. Thank you. Yeah, what do we say every morning, Avram? What do we say every morning? We say every morning. We say Yotze ora bore choshech. God forms light and He creates darkness. Ose shalom. He makes peace. Ubore takol. That's not what it says in Yeshayahu. It says Bore ra. Ani Hashem osa kol eleh. It's mind-boggling. Ashkenaz Agdola tampered with the text. They never do that. Ooh, another Manishtana question. It's amazing that the Ashkenaz Agdola changed the text of Isaiah.
That was from Isaiah?
Isaiah 45. Ose shalom ubore ra.
That's what Isaiah.
Yeshayahu. You have Yeshayahu here? You give me an art scroll sitter, do you mind? An art scroll sitter and a Yeshayahu. There's an art scroll sitter right there, I think. No? Yeshayahu and an art scroll sitter. Wait a minute. So it's a Osa Shalom Bo. So Ashkenaz Agdola changed the text, Alfie. I guess it would be too upsetting to people. I don't know. Ubore ra ani Hashem ose et kol eila. That's what he says. Don't blame anybody else. So why did Anshe Knesset Agdola, Gershom, why did they change the text?
You can say because the Ra at the end
Yeah.
is for a good reason.
So that's why they changed the text. Why did they change the text for? In the bracha. Also Shalom Barat. Anyway.
Bore, again, it means
Maybe it's in here.
from nothing.
It's not a Tanakh, but it's got stuff.
No, it's not in. I just need to give me an art scroll sitter. Do you mind giving me an art scroll
Yeah, I
sitter?
need yours in 1 minute.
It's an art scroll sitter. It's not in there.
Essay's not in there.
Bore,
No.
No, it's just Chumash. It's not
No, they need that.
Bore is Yesh Miyayin.
Boris Yesh Miyayin, right. Used to have a,
He's got it.
You look it up. I'll tell you in a second.
Dig deep for that.
Let's need an art scroll
Give me the
sitter.
chapter and the verse.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just give you the chapter, the verse, and you look it up.
It's Yeshayahu.
Yeshayahu. 1 minute. Yeshayahu.
Oh, everything's on there, right?
I just need to know the chapter.
Chapter and verse. Right?
Shayahu 45:7.
Wow.
In the year, I told you 45, right?
45.
45:7.
45, yeah.
45:7. Yeshayahu. Thank you. Boy, you get at the fingers.
Yotzer or Uvarei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei
Ra.
Ra Ani Hashem Oseh Kol Oleh.
Kolele. Wow.
I form the light and create darkness. I make peace. I create evil.
I create evil. Say what? I create evil. Go ahead.
I, the Lord, do all these things.
I, the Lord, do all these things. So how come the Anshe Knesset changed it, Alfie?
What do they say?
They say Boret Hakol. Instead of a Borei Ra, they change it to Boret Hakol. That he creates everything.
Right.
That's also true.
Yeah, but the text says, God said, what are you changing my words for? I don't know.
Yeah.
I said the Borei Ra.
Well, he told Aisha anyway.
Anshe Knesset Agdola, I don't know, they changed it. I don't know why they changed it. I guess some people be upset about it. I don't know. Why? I don't know. Really? Can you ask somebody in your neighborhood? I don't know. The big guns there's nobody to ask. Why they changed it, I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, we should ask him. Is he around?
I have Rashi on this.
Yeah, what does Rashi say?
Well, on Yotzer or it says for the righteous.
Go ahead.
And for the Borei
Ra.
Choshech.
Yeah.
For Babylon.
Okay.
And the same applies to who makes peace and creates evil.
Okay.
That's the only Rashi on it.
That's all he said. Okay. Interesting. Okay, we're back in. Okay, now I'm going to hit you with the
Hard stuff.
why on Hanukkah, Purim, we say Alanissim, right? Don't we say Alanissim?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we say Alanissim on Pesach? Gershon, just say the night talk. Why don't we say Al Hanissim on Pesach? I mean, Purim was a great miracle, but
Those two are the rabbinic
so what?
realities.
Because it
So what? Why did you say Al Hanissim when? On Pesach. What's a greater miracle? Pesach or Purim?
Yes.
Right? Do you hear my question? Let's think. I think it's a good question. We make a bracha on Purim. Asher kirishanu v'mitzvaysa v'tzivanu she'osa nisim la'avoseinu b'yom ha'mehem b'zman hazeh. We bless God on Purim for making great miracles. Hey, Pesach was a greater miracle than Purim.
doesn't repeat.
So, what do you mean doesn't repeat? Why don't you make a bracha she'osa nisim la'avoseinu when? On Pesach. Pesach was a great miracle like Purim, wasn't it? Like Hanukkah, wasn't it? It was even a greater miracle. And yet, we don't make she'osa nisim la'avoseinu. We don't say ala nisim, and we don't say what? The bracha, she'osa nisim la'avoseinu. Why not? What am I, chopped liver?
Once upon a time.
I think it's a very good question. Think of the question. So what? So that you make the kasha stronger. If you're making ala nisim for a rabbinic holiday, you should certainly bless God for what? For a Torah holiday. And yet, and we don't make an ala nisim for Pesach. You would think that would be the example. Thanking God for the great miracle of the Exodus. If you're thanking God for the miracle of Purim and Hanukkah, shouldn't you thank Him for the miracle of the Exodus? What am I, chopped liver?
Purim, we made miracles. Pesach, God made miracles.
So it makes the kasha stronger. So if God made the miracles, why don't we bless Him? Like we do on Purim. We asked a bomb kasha from Bomland. Why don't we say ala nisim on Pesach?
Why Pesach as opposed to Shavuos or...
I'm up to Shavuos now. I'm up to Pesach now.
All right.
Shavuos, ask me Shavuos.
Well, you're making Pesach.
No, I'm up to Pesach now. When you get to Shavuos, you got to leave something open for Shavuos.
We'll bring that up.
Then he
We'll bring
won't
that
come
up
back.
7 weeks from now.
7 weeks from now, you bring that. 9 weeks from now. 9 weeks from today.
Right.
What
You
miracle?
hear my question?
Yes,
What
yes,
miracle?
yes.
The splitting of the Red Sea, the 10 plagues. That's not a miracle like Hanukkah and Purim? That doesn't deserve a blessing of Ala Nisim? Come on.
I think they was very close to Hashem during going out from Mitzrayim and later. And the later generations, like Purim and Hanukkah, was not so close, so they need remembrance that this was a very great miracle, in spite of the fact that they are not so close to Hashem.
We made tshuva on
That's
Purim.
an answer. That's an answer.
All right.
So the question was, why did they say Allah Nisim on Pesach?
Right.
What's the answer?
I'm not there yet. I want you to think about the question. Is it a good question?
Yeah, there's a lot more miracles on Pesach.
Then there was on Purim,
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. So if they deserve an Ala Nisim with a blessing special, Shos Nisim Lavoy Seinu Bayom Hameim. So you would think Pesach would be the role model. So to answer this question, we're going to ask what? Another question. This is from the Beis HaLevi, I'm telling you. Beis HaLevi. To answer this question, we are going to ask another one. Let's go back to the book of Bereshit. A very strange Rashi, Gershom, in the book of Bereshit. Strange. Very profound. Let's go back in time. Back in time. Let's go to... Page 50. Background music. We're going back to page 50. Background music. The Malachim come to Sodom. Who invites them for dinner? Lot. Page 50. Avram, you with me? You're again me here?
What verse?
Pasuk Gimel. Vayiftzar, they didn't want to come to the dinner. Vayiftzar ba'ma'od, he really pressed them. Vayisura elav, they turned into him. Vayavo el beito. Vayash lahem mishteh, he made from them a wine party. Umatzois ofa, and he baked matzah. Now, the Torah is not a history book, Gershom. Why do we need to know what was on the menu? 3,800 years ago, Alfie, we need to know what was on the menu. Why not Wonder Bread, Diet Coke? We need to know he gave them matzah and wine. Hear the question the Beis HaLevi asked. 1 minute. Torah is not a history book. To make the kasha stronger, Avram, look what Rashi says. Rashi wonders why he didn't give them Wonder Bread. Ever eat Wonder Bread?
It did.
You ever eat Wonder Bread? Why did he give them matzah and wine? Avram, look at Rashi. Gimel, left column. Gimel, left column. Yisura elav u'matzahs afa. What does Rashi say? What? No, the next Rashi. Matzahs afa. Say what?
Pesach.
Say what?
It was Pesach.
That's why he didn't give them Wonder Bread. Therefore he gave them matzah and wine.
How could it be Pesach?
Ah!
There was no Torah.
Ah!
You got it?
He made a seder for them.
Before Pesach.
Therefore, we need to know he gave them mishteh. The word mishteh in Tanakh means wine. Wine. A lot of wine. 4 cups of wine. And matzah. The Torah tells me that. Not historical fact. To teach me that Lot had a seder. He grew up Uncle Abraham, so he must have had a seder. because it was Pesach. But wait a minute. How could it be a Pesach when the Yidden are not going to get the Torah for another 430 years? There was no Exodus. There was no people yet. There was no Yidden. What are you talking about? It was Pesach. What are you talking about? It was Pesach. And that Lot ate matzah. And he gave him wine. Mishteh. The Balaturim says, Arba Koisais. You hear this? The Mishteh says the Balaturim Arba Koisais. But how could that be? There was no people. There was no slavery. There was no Torah.
There was no Exodus.
No Exodus. What does Rashi mean? Fasten your seatbelts. Are you fastened? He says, we make a mistake. The Medrash says, Estakol baraita bore alba. God looked into the Torah and he created the world. Right? The Medrash says that? Right. Just like an architect, before he builds a building, what does he do?
Makes out a plane.
A blueprint. It's called blueprint. So the architect, capital A, before he built the universe, first he had to draw up the blueprint. What's the blueprint of the universe? Torah. So God looked into the Torah and he created the universe. That means the Torah preceded what? Creation. In the Torah, there's a mitzvah to what? To eat matzah and yayin, right? To have a seder. Didn't Father Abraham practice the Torah before it was given?
How could he do that?
Well, how could he do that? Because what is the Torah? The Torah is God's mind. Tractate Shabbos, page 109, says that the Torah is God's mind. When you love somebody, Alfie, you can know what the other guy is thinking sometimes, no? Yes. Abraham was so madly in love with the one above. Penny for your thoughts?
What?
He loved God so much. He was so close to God. He knew what's on God's mind. The Torah. So that's how he could keep it. To know him is to love him. And I do. Who sang that? Abraham sang that. They got everything from us. To know him is to love. Right? So, Vihaltman. So therefore, Abraham, nephew Lot, learned the mitzvahs from Uncle Abraham. So since the Torah preceded creation, and one of the mitzvahs of the Torah is to have what? A Seder on Leil Pesach. So therefore what? Lot had a Seder. 1 minute.
It's an exodus out of Egypt. They could have had 4 questions.
The reason that God put the Jews in Egypt was since there's a mitzvah in the Torah of matzah and maror. So God had to orchestrate human history to make those mitzvahs apply on a practical level. In Abraham's time, they did it in a theoretical. There was no Exodus, there was no people. But so what? The Torah preceded creation. God created the world so that the mitzvahs of the Torah would apply not just in a theoretical level, but on a practical level as well. So the entire history of the course of human events in history was to make the Torah apply on practical level. Hear the Beis Halevi's beautiful thesis? So Lot can celebrate Pesach. So what? There was no Exodus. The Torah preceded creation. The Torah, God wanted the Torah to be kept on a practical level. So he orchestrated the entire Exodus to make these mitzvahs apply not just in theory, like Lot did it, but in practice. So far, so good? So, we don't eat matzah on Pesach because the Jews war in Egypt. It's a mistake. We were in Egypt because we have to eat matzah on Pesach. You're the Beis Halevi's Chiddush, Josh. You with me on this? If there was no Chanukah or Purim miracles, if there was no human events on Chanukah and Purim, there'd be no Yontif. Because Chanukah and Purim are strictly rabbinic. If there was no events in history that led to the Chanukah and the Purim miracle, there'd be no Chanukah and Purim. Because Chanukah and Purim are not part of the Torah. So we say Al Nisim, celebrating the miraculous events that took place, Chanukah and Purim. But even if there'd never been an Exodus and all the miracles, you'd still have to celebrate Pesach, like Lot did. Therefore, there's no Al Nisim on Pesach. Because even though there never would be an Exodus with all the miracles, we'd still celebrate Pesach anyway. How do I know? Lot did it over 400 years before there was even a Jewish people. So therefore, you don't say Al Nisim on Pesach, because it didn't depend on the Nisim. Even did Lot have any Nisim? Did Lot have any Nisim?
No.
And yet he celebrated Pesach, Rashi says. That's why he ate matzah. Isn't that incredible? So the reason we eat matzah on Pesach is not because what?
Exodus.
It's not because of the Exodus, no. The proof is Lot.
The fact
The
that
proof, Lot ate matzah 430 years before the Exodus. But there was an Exodus only to make the mitzvah come alive on a practical level. So it's not dependent on Al Nisim. I'm glad you came today.
Is that one of the
This is the Beis Halevi. This answers why there's no Al Nisim on Pesach, what am I, chopped liver? And it answers how Lot can celebrate Pesach 430 years before there was even a Jewish people.
He was like keeping the Torah just like ours.
He learned from Uncle Abraham, right?
Is that an illogical law? Eat
The Torah is God's mind.
That's an illogical
So
law.
God's mind is to eat matzah on Pesach, even though there's no Exodus yet. Abraham had no Exodus, but that's the mitzvah. It's God's wisdom. Eating matzah on Pesach is
Nothing
God's
to do with
wisdom.
Liberty?
That's what we think. After there was a mitzvah of matzah and Morris, and God said, I want you to bring it down from theory to practical level. I'm going to orchestrate the entire spiel that we call the Exodus to make these mitzvahs apply on a practical level.
Right, that's what it came to.
Isn't that amazing?
Emancipation
The
of-
Beis Halevi. People don't know that at the Seder.
Well, if they live-
They think that they celebrate Pesach because we were in Egypt, right? Say, hey guys, I got news for you. We're not celebrating the Seder because you were in Egypt.
Pink verkehrt.
Punkt verkehrt. Punkt verkehrt, Avram. You have to say this. This is Seder night. People are mixed up. And the proof is why there's no Al HaNisim on Pesach.
If you say this for a mitzvah, that
What?
the mitzvah Lasot Mashu was already written in the Torah.
Stakel Baraita Borei Alma. No.
So can you apply the same to an Avera?
What do you mean, Avera?
Mabul. Mabul was already in the Torah before it happened.
And
So can we apply the same idea to the Mabul?
well, you can.
He's asking the Vilna Gaon's kasha
What's he saying?
and the Ramban's kasha.
This is all these events took place before they happened.
Why did Korach rebel? Didn't he check the text? I'm going to rebel, wind up 69 feet under. Why did he rebel for? Why did Moses hit the rock? Didn't he know he's not going to go to Pisgat Zev? I mean, it's in the Torah. That's what you're asking, right?
Yes.
Enjoy it.
The Ramban asked your kasha and the Vilna Gaon. You hear what he's asking, Abraham?
Why didn't they look in the Torah before these events happened so they wouldn't do them, make mistakes?
Says the holy Ramban. Fasten your seatbelts. I say that, he said. The mitzvah part of the Torah was written out clearly. The narrative, there was no space between the letters. If you take away the space between the letters of the words, If you look at a Bible code sheet, are you with me on this, Abraham?
Yeah.
He asked the Ramban's kasha and the Vilna Gaon's kasha. Why did Moses hit the rock? He wants to go to Pisgah Zev. Hey, read the text. I don't want to go. I want to go to Pisgah Zev, so I'm not going to hit the rock.
Right.
Why did Korach rebel? He didn't wind up,
Just look at the Torah, right?
So says the Ramban, and the Vilna Gaon elaborates that only the mitzvah part of the Torah was spelled out. The narrative part was disguised in a code. It says the Holy Ramban and the Vilna Gaon. If Korach wouldn't have rebelled, you take away the spaces between the words. Remember, all of the words of the Torah are really names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. After Korach rebelled, God said, take this section of my names, which are letters, and rearrange it to fit just what happened. So Korach still had free will. If Korach wouldn't have rebelled, that part of the Torah would have remained. Would have remained what? If Moshe wouldn't have hit the rock, then what?
Same thing.
That part of the Torah would have remained. The original Torah, says Ramban, the narrative part was, look at the words. You take away the spaces between the words, Josh. Can you understand what it says?
No.
It's just letters, which are names of God. But after the event took place, God says, rearrange the letters of my names to fit what just happened. So if Korach and Moses wouldn't have sinned, then that part of the Torah would have remained as it was.
Only God can
You hear this?
It was inevitable that it had to happen. Korah had to rebel and Moses had
No,
to
it wasn't
They
inevitable.
didn't know what would have happened if they would have rebelled. That's what you're saying. Because it was what,
If they had the script, that where's the free will?
right.
So that part of the Torah was unscrambled or scrambled, or what's it called? Jumbled. Jumbled. The way your original Bible codes is.
Looked into it.
So they wouldn't know what it said there. If he wouldn't have sinned, it would have remained in its original format. All names of God anyway. But after they sinned, God said, take this section and rearrange it the way I tell you to fit what happened.
Was it ever written in the original text, like without any spaces?
Yes.
Was it ever written down?
That's what the Vilna Gaon says. The Vilna Gaon says. Look at the last Rashi in the Torah. The last Rashi in the Torah. That Vilna Gaon alludes to what the Ramban is saying over here. That Rashi also agrees with this. You look at the last Rashi in the Torah.
We know the first Rashi in the Torah,
Yeah.
but the last Rashi.
The last Rashi
that's
in
a
the
good
Torah.
question. What's the last Rashi?
First one is about
Don't tell me,
giving us
there's
the
a bracha.
The Zoysa Bracha, yeah. It's almost the last, okay? It says as follows. Okay.
Cool.
Pasuk Hey. 646 Hey on top. Vayomas Sham Moshe Evet Hashem Be'eretz Moab al Pi Hashem. Moses died there, the servant of God, right?
Yeah.
646 Hey. What's bothering Rashi, Gershom? Look at Rashi Hey.
Who wrote the Torah?
Huh?
Who wrote it?
There's a movie called Dead Men Tell No Tales. Dead men can't write, Josh, right?
Dead men don't lie.
Moses wrote the Torah. God dictated and Moses wrote. Like a boss and a secretary. Right? Anyone who believes that Moses wrote one word on his own is a heretic. Right? Ramban says, Judaism, God dictated every word of the Torah and Moses was a secretary. To believe that Moses wrote one word on his own or one letter on his own is complete heresy. So what? So Rashi's puzzled. How could God dictate to a dead secretary? Look at Rashi.
It was on autopilot.
Efshe Moshe met Avraham Berkowitz, you see? See that Rashi, you don't? Hey.
Yeah. Efshar Moshe Meis.
Because of Vayom Hashem Moshe, Ela Atkan Kotav Moshe, Mikan Ve'elach Kotav Yeshua.
Okay. Yeshua took over.
Yeshua took over.
Yeah, but this is another problem.
1 minute. Rab Meir Oimer, Efshe Sefer Torah Chosa Klum, V'omel Koyach Sefer Torah Zeh. It can't be. Right? It says clearly in Deuteronomy 31 that Moshe wrote the entire Torah himself. He says the Levites take this entire book and put it in the ark. So what are you telling me Yeshua wrote it? Elo what? Kodesh Baruch Hu Omer, God dictated, Moshe Kose Bedema, and Moshe wrote with tears. Now what does that mean?
I'm dead.
He rewrote it. Did he rewrite it?
1 minute. You're ahead of me. Says the Vilna Gaon. This is what the Ramban is referring to. This part, this narrative part of the Torah, right? It's a narrative part of the Torah. So Hashem says, re-scramble the letters that I'm telling you. All of a sudden, geworden schlecht for the Augen. Geworden schlecht for the Augen. How do you say that in Yiddish?
It was bad for the eyes.
God says, it's now time to scramble, decipher this part of the Torah. You're getting close to the finish. All of a sudden, what happened? He saw, what's he deciphering? His death. So he began to cry. He began to cry. And he wrote with tears. But is that a kosher Sefer Torah? So Yeshua, no! So Yeshua ben Nun had to fill it in. Both rabbis are right. Who finished the last 9 psukim? Both. Moshe wrote with tears. Moshe wrote with tears. But that's not a kosher Torah. Yeshua ben Nun had to what? Fill it in with ink. See, when 2 rabbis disagree, they're both right. Classic example. Moshe wrote with tears, but that's not a kosher Sefer Torah. Yeshua ben Nun filled it in with ink. Why did Moshe write with tears, not with ink? Because it wasn't true yet. Because it wasn't true yet. That's why he couldn't write it in ink. The Maharsha says this, Gershom. How could I write with ink? Moses died there. Dead people can't write. But God said write. So he wrote it with tears. But he couldn't write it with ink because it wasn't true yet. After he died, Yeshua ben Nun, his faithful disciple, filled it in with ink. So again, this is why he cried. Why didn't he cry before? He didn't know this was unscrambled or scrambled. What's the right word? Scrambled or unscrambled?
Scrambled.
Scrambled, and God said unscramble it, and he pitom. He began to cry. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I may be completely mixed up. Till this point,
Yeah.
was it all one word?
What?
Right. The Torah, yes. They say it's all one word.
Torah, Megillah, Nitno. I'm telling you. As episodes happen in the desert,
Then they unscramble.
Hashem said, hey,
Yes.
what happened today,
Yes.
sit down,
Yes.
go to this section of the Torah and unscramble the letters the way I tell you. To fit what just happened. So if Korach wouldn't have rebelled, that part of the Torah would have remained in its original format.
Because the question
Bible codes. The original Bible
they're
codes.
trying to put together the problem of the fact that the Torah was written before the world was created.
And how Korach didn't lose his
people
free
wouldn't
will.
know free will.
Right. That's
So
how the Ramban and the Vilna Gaon
Put it together.
answer your good kasha.
Because it's a good question.
The mitzvah parts, they were unscrambled. They were mitzvahs. But the narrative part had to be disguised. Otherwise, the person would lose his free will. If he wouldn't have struck the rock, that section would have remained Bible codes, because they're all names of God anyway. Every letter of the Torah is a name of God. Anyway. Versteh.
So that the Sefer Torah that's in the Aron, the Sefer Torah that's in the Ark of the Covenant, right? Because basically Moshe wrote a Torah and he gave it to the Levites and said, put this in the Ark.
That's right. So it's hidden somewhere in the catacombs.
After 40
But
years.
that Sefer Torah, the last few chapters of it is what is it? Is it written in tears? Is it written in...
No, just these 9 psukim. My friend Josh, and listening.
Joshua.
These last 9 psukim Moshe wrote in tears when Moses died. Joshua inked in these
This is Josh.
Joshua, you inked in the last 9 verses,
Wait, but
and only then was it what put in the ark. Because the same Torah scroll we have.
There's a part that says that he wrote it down, right, and then he built like 12 stones, and then basically he writes the Sefer Torah and he gives it to the Levites and says put it in.
No, you're mixing up different episodes. That part that you're talking about, let's take a look. Let's go.
There's 3 or 4 different stories.
No, let's go. Rashi explains everything very nicely. Let's go to Parshas Yisro.
No, I'm not talking about...
What are you
not talking about that.
No, what are you talking about? No, I know what you're talking about. Wait a minute, I know what you're talking about. Let's go to Parshas Yisro. This class, you have to have nimble fingers. Nimble. Parshas Yisro.
That's 20.
Let's, 1 second.
No other part.
1 second. No, actually, page 246. Page 246, Exodus 24, Pasuk Dalid. Exodus 24, Pasuk Dalid. Page 246, Josh, Pasuk Dalid. You want to read that? On 246. 246. Who do we appreciate? 246, Dalid. Let your fingers do the walking. 246, you have it, Gershom. Pasuk Dalid. Vayichtov Moshe's Kol Divrei Hashem. Moses wrote all the words of God. What does that mean, Josh? What do you mean he wrote all the words of God? Vayichtov Moshe's Kol Divrei Hashem. You with me or against me?
Hashem, yeah.
Look what Rashi says. Vayichtov Moshe. Mi bereishis v'ad matan Torah.
Until the beginning, giving of the
That sections that was what? Unscrambled or whatever you want to call it, scrambled. So Moshe wrote down, re-scrambled it or unscrambled it from Bereshis until Matan Torah.
It was encrypted.
That part, and then as events moved along in the 40 years after the events happened, then the rest of the Torah was unscrambled as events called for it. Versteh. Torah Megillah Nitnu. Torah Megillah Nitnu. And the very end, the very last section to be unscrambled was Moses' own death. And that shocked him so much he began to cry. Because up until then he just saw what? Letters! Paid to come today, right?
Moshe wrote.
Archaeologically speaking, Rabbi.
Bible codes. That's the original Bible code. It's all God's mind. It's God's names rearranged to fit human failings. It's unbelievable that God would allow His holy names to be rearranged to fit human failings. Look how much God loves the mensch. It's mind-boggling. The Malachim couldn't understand that. The Malachim. The Malachim said, "What are you allowing your holy names to be rearranged to fit human failings?"
Archaeologically speaking, the scrambled Torah hasn't been done.
What?
Archaeologically speaking.
But you're not listening to me. Before Moses died, the whole thing was unscrambled. You're not listening to me. Oh, you're not following me. You're not following me.
They haven't found unscrambled.
No, because that didn't exist. They never wrote it down.
And as the event happened, then the Torah became unscrambled, right?
As events happened. And the last day of his life. No, then your guy wouldn't have free will. Says Ramban Vilna Gaon. In the last day of his life, he was told to unscramble the last section, which shocked him.
Right. So he started
Vayoma Moshe. He began to cry. Rearranged the letters, and he saw it appear.
Going to happen.
Right?